Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. The last day of amazing Augmented World Expo. I'm Nico Farah. I am an engineer and have been building businesses in Web3, gaming, and AI. And I'm excited to start with introducing our amazing panel. Louisa Spring is going to be our amazing moderator. And we have Kathy Braegger, Director of Business Development of Qualcomm Technologies, Cerilenne Menendez Mendoza, XR lead at T-Mobile, Alexin Silkin, co-founder and CTO of Survios. Please help me welcome them with a round of applause. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. I mean, you know, we're on the last day, thank God. So anyway, I'm very, very happy to be moderating this panel. 3 women, 1 man, it's the perfect ratio. So first of all, I'd like everyone, if we can just do some introductions here, and I'll start off with Alex.
Hello. So I've been doing VR for about 10 years, maybe actually 11. I started at USC doing VR research in like 2012, I guess. I co-founded Survios, and I'm the CTO there. Survios has just hit our 10-year anniversary a few days ago, or last week, I think it was. So we've made about 10 plus games at this point, and our strategy's been really focused on licensing movies and TV shows and other really well-known IP like Puzzle Bobble recently. So really excited about this next generation of VR and AR that we're entering now.
Sari.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cerilenne Menendez Mendoza. I work for T-Mobile, as you can tell by the lovely shade of magenta I'm wearing right now. Been at T-Mobile for the last approximately 4 years. I lead T-Mobile's work in XR, remote collaboration, as well as future roadmap of innovative products outside of the XR scope. Prior to T-Mobile, I worked in the venture capital and tech space and launched several companies all over Latin America and Southeast Asia. This is me now being a quote-unquote entrepreneur within a large company, and I'm super, super excited to be here right now and very excited about the XR space, of course.
Kathy.
Kathy Braegger. So I'm with Qualcomm. Been there for quite a while. Happy that you all got up on a Friday morning to come and join us in this conversation. I'm part of the Qualcomm's XR business unit, so focused on bringing our chipsets to hardware headset manufacturers around the world and building a developer ecosystem around our Spaces XR developer platform. So bringing content to those devices and to our telco partners for channel distribution and working with great partners like Survios to develop that content. So happy to be here and be part of this discussion.
And actually, Kathy, I did want to ask you one thing. How many developers are you working with right now on Spaces?
Actually, it's been great. I mean, we're really just kind of in the infancy of Spaces. So we announced it that it was generally available last year at AWE, and got some early access developers on board. We've been building out the platform over the past year, and so now we're well into the hundreds, if not up above that.
Great. And I'm Louisa Spring, and I was a consultant and worked in VR and AR since 2015. I'm a recovering lawyer, but went over to the dark side of T-Mobile about 1.5 years ago. And so I work with Sari, and I'm on her team. So, Alex, can you talk about some of the titles and the studio? When you started, anything exciting to share, and maybe some demographics about what your average VR player is?
Sure. So we started working in VR pretty early, like right before the Oculus DK1 was announced in Kickstarter, which really kicked off this latest kind of iteration of consumer VR. The last time around, it was, I think, in the 90s, and that kind of faltered. And this time around, it seems like it's fairly successful, and hopefully it's not faltering. It seems like it's not faltering. Yesterday, I think Rick Catello was saying that he finally believes in VR, the CEO of Unity. So that was like a really great quote.
He finally believes in it.
He finally believes in VR. Yeah. So, well, he basically said his quote was, 7 years ago, VR was a good hobby. Now, VR is a good business, which I think is like an amazing quote. So I'm going to keep using that. So thank you, Rick Catello.
Yeah, it should be in stone on the top of the Survios
Yep.
studio.
So we started before it was even a good hobby, I guess, because we started, before 7 years ago, and we actually had to kind of create and hack together our own hardware because the DK1 was just this. It was really amazing at the time because when you put it on, you suddenly get transported to a new place, but it was limited in the sense that it had no positional tracking, so you couldn't really move your head around. You could just look around. In fact, they even had some drift, so you would have some issues sometimes, like playing an experience for longer than a few minutes. All of a sudden, you're facing somewhere else, and you have to reset your view. And of course, there was no like hand tracking controllers, so your mode of interaction was just the traditional gamepad. So the experiences were pretty limited, and we wanted from the start to deliver the type of I think the promise of VR where you can like go and touch things and use your hands, and I think we kind of called it active VR or full body presence. So there were Razer Hydra controllers back then that were, it was like Sixth Sense technology that was licensed by Razer hardware. So we used those controllers in the beginning to give us some sort of motion controllers. And then we, as we spun off the company, we started developing other hardware, we started licensing more technology. We actually ended up building a fully kind of integrated Linux-based VR console in like 2015 that had like that streamed to your headset. It was like still pretty primitive, but it allowed us to really iterate on this kind of now what's called room scale VR when that term came around. So when Steam came online, Steam VR with the Vive, HTC Vive, that was our first like platform with consumers that we could actually sell to. So we released our first game called Raw Data, and that was a fairly big hit on Steam. It was like one of the early games. You basically went around killing robots with different types of weapons. It was very fun, very gruesome, but also sort of child appropriate, I guess, because you're killing robots, not humans. We were able to put it in China fairly no problem because not really blood. And then we did like a racing game called Sprint Vector, which is kind of like a Mario Kart. We ran around with your hands, and luckily didn't get that many people feel sick because that's a big issue in VR as well. And then we like landed on a big hit, Creed: Rise to Glory, which is licensing the Creed boxing movie. And that was our first taste of licensing an IP and seeing what great benefits there are to, for the marketing, for the consumer awareness. Also, in some ways, it's kind of like a lazy way out because they basically give you a world and you don't have to develop the world. On the other hand, it's actually a lot of work because now you have to work with an existing IP and give them a very kind of faithful treatment, and they have a right of first refusal. They have to approve everything, so it is actually also very complicated. On the other hand, and since then we've also licensed Westworld and Walking Dead, and then now we're licensing Aliens universe, with the black xenomorphs that are very, very scary and lots of body horror, and I'm not sure how that's going to get into China, but we're excited on personally, I'm excited about pushing it forward, even if it does. I think it's going to probably be like M-rated or something. But on the flip side, we also license Puzzle Bobble, which is like very child-oriented. So we have very diverse I guess interests, and it's just fun to try very many different things creatively.
That's fantastic. I mean, I really applaud you on your long-term vision here as well, and also taking some of these, amazing IPs into, VR is hard as well, because you're also dealing with a fan base. And you mentioned China and the blood thing, so I didn't know that. So that's actually, I just learned something new. Fantastic. So, Sari, can you chime in about T-Mobile and how it all kind of started with you as XR lead and the team that you lead within T-Mobile, and also about the relationship with Qualcomm.
Sure. So I think it's almost three years ago at this point, which is wild to think about. We had just come out of our little tiny merger with Sprint. And after the merger, of course, there was a lot of oh, can you hear me? I have it it's right here. Oh, it's off? Sorry. Hello?
There you go.
Oh, it works. Thank you for that. So, long story short, we had the merger with Sprint. So we were a little bit busy, and after the merger, we were super eager and ready to explore what's next in terms of 5G-powered devices, right? What will allow us to enhance smartphone experiences? What will be the next frontier of products that will be powered with the power of 5G? And we sit in the technology organization, and back then it was a part of T-Mobile that looks into future devices. And because of my background in entrepreneurship across different sectors, my boss at the time told me to go and learn about XR, and I looked at him and I just said, X what? So I don't have the experience that Alex has. I've been in the space for 3 to 4 years, and at that time we brought on Louisa, who is extremely knowledgeable in the space and very well connected, to help us get up to speed. So we started this massive process of teaching XR internally, everything from who are the key players, what are the most important use cases, what are we seeing different players in the telecom space all over the world doing, what are the biggest opportunities within this space, and what are the use cases that we think are truly going to benefit from the power of 5G, from edge, and all those cool, buzzy words that are out there. Now, in our work to drive this, we've looked into different use cases, including enterprise use cases, consumer use cases, as well as B2B2C use cases. And during our work, we started working more closely with Qualcomm, which answers the second part of your question, right? So yeah. T-Mobile is the lead North America carrier partner for Snapdragon Spaces. We joined Qualcomm earlier in the run of Snapdragon Spaces. I believe at the same time you announced that you were launching the Snapdragon Spaces platform. We spent all last year working hand in hand with Qualcomm, working to bring developers into the Snapdragon ecosystem, launching a Snapdragon-centered T-Mobile Accelerator program, where we've brought on developers that look at different use cases, including retail, education, and gaming, just to name a few. On our work with Snapdragon Spaces, we also decided to work with a big IP studio, a studio that is known for doing good job with big IP, that has a good reputation in the XR space. That's part of the reason, one of the many reasons we decided to work with Alex and his team.
Fantastic. So maybe we should see a little bit more about that. Keith, cue the video.
My name is Andrew Bedian. I am a lead game designer working at Survios.
We're taking the Puzzle Bobble game and we're able to highlight with it some of the features on the Snapdragon Spaces platform and the power of 5G.
Having access to powerful 5G networks allows us to be able to develop and create experiences for these glasses.
One of the things that we work on in advanced and emerging technology is we look into future 5G use cases, and we believe XR is one of those technologies that allow us to highlight the power of our network.
At Survios, we have a history in making network connected games where players can play together. So having a powerful 5G network behind those games for future products like AR glasses, it's the place that we want to be. And having a direct line of communication to companies like Qualcomm and T-Mobile, and having the opportunity to even work on this type of hardware, it lets us do our own personal R&D. It just makes the entire experience better.
T-Mobile is actually the lead North America partner for Qualcomm Snapdragon Spaces platform, and part of our mission is to push the developer content ecosystem in XR. Survios is an amazing player in the gaming industry.
T-Mobile is very engaged with the developer ecosystem. So as soon as they reached out to us, we kind of jumped at the chance. We're very interested in fostering better partnerships with the community and other hardware developers. It's providing the ability for people to connect even while they're next to each other to an AR environment and experience it together.
So there you have it. By the way, he's so good. Okay, so Sari, talk to me about why we went with Puzzle Bobble. Because I think with the glasses that we have to use, which were the Lenovo A3s at the time, etc., why did we think that it would work with a title like Puzzle Bobble?
So, first of all, as I mentioned before, we wanted to work with a studio that had a reputation for developing top-notch content. By the way, I'm a huge Creed fan. I'm terrible at playing the game, but I absolutely love it. We not only wanted to work with a well-known studio, we wanted to work with IP that was well-known, and Puzzle Bobble definitely brings up memories from over 30 years ago playing in arcades in Puerto Rico. We wanted content that was family friendly. We also wanted connected because of the device form factor that we have, and because we're interested in exploring what it will take for augmented reality glasses to hit mass adoption. We wanted snackable content. Snackable, I mean something you could do at a short period of time, something you could consume on the go, that you could do in public and not look like there's something not well with you. And Puzzle Bobble offered this type of experience. The way the Survios team developed the Puzzle Bobble game for the Lenovo A3 was actually very, very smart, because some of the criticism around the current hardware ecosystem is that maybe the field of view is not as big as we'd all like it. But the Survios team was super creative and optimized their content for that field of view, allowing them to deliver a beautiful experience that is super user-friendly on a device that is normally not used for broader consumer use cases.
Yeah, it was very, very clever, Alex.
Yeah.
So, Kathy, been quite quiet so far. So over to you. Can you talk about your relationship with Survios and why this was such a great project between all three of us?
Yeah, for sure. Congrats on 10 years. Obviously, we wanted to work with a great company like Survios because they had this strong reputation, as Sari was talking about. Top tier gaming company, 10 years in the industry, VR first, so really focused on immersive play. And we felt like they would be best suited to really start to experiment with augmented reality and what could happen with augmented reality in the gaming space. Obviously, their strong lineup of titles didn't hurt. I mean, Creed is awesome. I love raw data. So, I mean, just really, really top-notch content. And a team that was motivated to really grab onto early stage technology. So Spaces was definitely in a maturation phase. In fact, I think we waited to start the project for a few weeks for hand tracking to be available, for them to be able to use hand tracking in the experience for Puzzle Bobble. So just perfect match. I mean, T-Mobile's leadership in exploring these edge cases and figuring out how to best utilize 5G and edge for XR use cases. And Survios with their strong position in the industry, I think really made a lot of sense for us to partner together. So very happy with the relationship and looking forward to more.
Fantastic. So Alex, I think I would like to get into the kind of technical part of this and the Spaces features that you leveraged. I think Kathy explained that pretty well, that you were using features that hadn't really been out there before. So cue your slides, I would say.
Yeah, so I prepared some really beautifully done slides. I must confess, we have a really amazing creative team. I'm not an artist, so they get all the credit for how beautiful these look. And yeah, I mean, we did actually, look at all our IP slate when we were evaluating, the platform and trying to figure out what makes more sense for, the current iteration of the hardware and the current form factor. Because of course we would love to bring Creed and maybe even Aliens and such to AR in the future. We've done VR primarily, but we've even dabbled in non-VR games, and we're really excited about AR as well. Taking what we had with Puzzle Bobble, the original game was kind of a first-person game, as you imagine most VR is, where you are controlling Bob, I think is the name of this cute little dinosaur, and you're holding this slingshot and shooting bubbles, and that's how you pop them. It's kind of like a match 4 game with a few little twists to make it more interesting. We actually also made a non-VR mode of this game when we ported it to the PlayStation 4 and 5. On 5, we I think even enabled ray tracing, so it was one of the most beautiful puzzle games probably. But this kind of gave us the advantage of having more assets to play with because we actually had third-person models and animations of Bob. So as we're trying to figure out what is the best way to port to AR, first we of course thought of this kind of perspective, but it just didn't really make sense based on how the player would move around the play area. So immediately we kind of gravitated towards an over-the-top view, sort of like a God's eye view of like a little board game. So we prototyped that out. And we just put Bob basically on our desk and put bubbles around Bob so that you'd be able to, see the entire play area. And you could even, bring your face all the way to him and inspect him. And we found that to be really fun and endearing, even though it's not obviously part of the experience. But I think that's or part of the gameplay per se. But I think that's really like the power of AR to be able to really bring yourself close to the action, inspect these fine details. And so we also created little dioramas of our environment. We had a bunch of different biomes for the different levels that we created for the original game. And so for this kind of proof of concept, we were able to reuse a lot of the art, but create completely kind of new dioramas that kind of was just focused on the center play space. But provided you some fun little things to look around the level. Again, you could look really closely to Bob, doing fun animations and stuff, and that really kind of adds to the quality of the experience when he's reacting and such. And I could totally see us continuing to push in this direction, especially with all the AI and all that we've seen. It would be really cool to be able to interact with him a little bit more, maybe poke him a little bit, obviously do some more eye tracking so that he's looking at you. Of course, I don't think Bob actually speaks English, so maybe we don't need ChatGPT, but he can still make cute noises. So our tech stack is we're using OpenXR with Spaces, of course, and we're actually using Unreal Engine, which probably seems really strange. Today, I think at the Unity, or yesterday at the Unity talk, I heard the stat that 80% of XR developers use Unity, so we are strange and we use Unreal. We built the game originally in Unreal because most of our games have also been Unreal, so it just kind of didn't really make sense to rebuild it in Unity. And it worked out. So I think, if anything, we've helped make sure that the tech stack, Spaces works on Unreal. Just to start the experience, to start the game, we actually used a lot of Spaces features because the first step to playing the game is essentially anchoring your play area, figuring out where the flat surface of your table is. So this is how we designed it. So first we have this pineapple. I'm not really sure where the pineapple came from, but I guess we already had it in the game somewhere. So they used this fun pineapple. And then, so you grab it with your hand. So we used, hand tracking, and we used the fist gesture detection. So once you grab the pineapple, you need to drop it somewhere to pick as your play area. So we used, flat surface plane detection here with the hand tracking. And once you find a good area, it kind of, gets kind of attached there and draws a little square around it, previewing where the player is going to be. And then you can move it again if you don't like it. But if you're happy with it, you confirm it with the OK gesture, which we used a lot throughout our UI flows to kind of confirm things. Yeah, so here, again, to summarize, like all the spaces features we just used in the first minute of the game, just to calibrate your play space. So the plane detection to detect, your table hit detection with the hit testing with that surface, and then the dropping the local spatial anchor for the game, and then using the hand tracking to move the pineapple and confirm it. Yeah, so we used the OK gesture throughout the experience, with all the menus. Like before starting every single level, we kind of added a little circular progress bar so that you don't accidentally OK without your intent. Let's go to the next one. So we also use touch interactions with the hand tracking. So we just found that to be an effective way of pressing buttons essentially. So just touch it with your hand, and we just did a very satisfying little VFX thing when the bubble is actually popped once you touch it with your hand. And that's how we basically get through the tutorial with these next and back buttons. And then the way you actually pop your bubbles, we use the companion app for that. So you essentially aim with your face, and you aim where you're looking, and then you can just tap on your phone to tell Bub to throw the bubble. And yeah, that surprisingly was very effective and very engaging. I could totally see building even more action-oriented, top-down twin-stick shooter with that kind of mechanic. So hand tracking. So we visualized the hand with the point cloud, since otherwise the hand would be obscured by the rendering of the game. So that let us kind of see where the hand is. We used the hand to pick up these paintbrushes, which are these special power-up items you get to help you clear the board. And then you essentially put the brush on a bubble to clear a whole row. So once you're holding a paintbrush, we remove the point cloud of the hand. Your hand essentially becomes a paintbrush, which is what a lot of other VR experiences have done, probably starting with Job Simulator famously back in the day. That's the game.
So that's amazing. So can you talk to me a little bit about how your thought process was going from VR to AR? Because, also with the form factor and all the other considerations you had to keep in mind.
Yeah, so as mentioned earlier, the field of view in AR is narrower than what we're used to in VR. So that was one of the primary reasons why we decided to make it kind of an over-the-top, top-down kind of board game experience, because that allows you to step back and see most of the play area within the field of view. And again, just being able to use your head to move around the experience that just yields to that. Beyond that, we were lucky that we already had a Quest build of the game, so performance-wise, we didn't really struggle. We already had assets and code that ran on Snapdragon, essentially. And beyond that, of course, as I said, hand tracking, maybe a little differently, because you are kind of over-the-top God interacting with the world. You're not really a first person or in first person within the experience. What else is there? Yeah, and I think that kind of calibration step is kind of really important. In VR, usually calibrate height in the beginning, but with AR, it's all about where are you choosing to kind of anchor the experience in the world. That is a kind of unique thing that we found.
So I hate to put you on the spot, but AR or VR?
I think this is why people just want to cross them over and call it XR or mixed reality, or I think
Good answer.
it's like every time when you come up with a new standard, you're not actually standardizing anything; you're just adding a new standard. I think, of course, everyone's waiting and seeing what like Apple does like on Monday. That's like the big elephant in the room. And that device is going to be both AR and VR, I think. I don't know. Like, there's been plenty of leaks, so unless they like decide to trick everyone and announce a car, I think it's going to be like a VR and AR device. And I think fact of the matter is, it's how much of your environment are you deciding to put into the game. And I think soon we'll be maybe just putting, like, even in VR experiences, we'll just be putting our bodies maybe into the game, or still augmenting our bodies, but just tracking our bodies maybe with cameras or something. I can even see some experiences kind of like going back and forth between like full AR versus VR. Some of the really cool experiences I've seen are you basically put a portal, like a painting, and then you walk into the painting, and now you're in the painting, which is basically VR, but then you like step out, and now all of a sudden you're like back in your living room. What else did I see? I think it's Resolution Games. I think they're working on this like AR kind of experience where like the entire wall becomes a window into like a virtual world, and you're kind of shooting things there, and sometimes things are running out. So I think in many ways there's gonna be a lot of crossover.
That sounds cool. Some kind of game that's like part VR, part AR. I could see you totally doing that. And I think also as well saying that, you could bring some of those assets that you had before from the VR version into the AR version. And I think it speaks a lot to the Snapdragon Spaces platform, actually, Kathy, that kind of ease of port, is great, and how it's been designed. So over to you, Kathy. Spaces. Can you elaborate more?
Sure. And just to elaborate on that, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's what we're trying to do with Spaces, is really trying to, have that portability from device to device, and have that friction removed for the developer community, so that they can get more good content out there on all devices. So just adding on to some of the features that Survios was able to use for Puzzle Bobble, we've added. Every 6 weeks, we're on a pretty quick cadence where we release additional features to the platform. So even after this POC was completed, we've released spatial mapping and meshing, which I think would be really cool for Alex to play around with. But one thing that's coming that you probably heard about this week that we're pretty excited about, if you happen to catch Steve Lucas's session on Wednesday, it was pretty revealing, hopefully. We think it's going to unlock a lot of potential for not only for Survios, but a lot of the gaming developers and mobile developers. So what we've added to features is a feature we're calling dual render fusion. Rolls right off the tongue. Dual render fusion. Anyway, super excited about it. It's something that we've been excited about for a long time, because Qualcomm, I'll brag a little bit, we kind of pioneered smartphone augmented reality back like in 2013, so we've been in the business for quite some time. So thinking about how, do we unlock the potential for smartphone AR and combine that with augmented reality glasses? So giving developers the opportunity now to have a dual rendering. So you've basically got two displays. You've got the display of the smartphone, and then you've got the display of the augmented reality glasses. And you can simultaneously display to both devices and have that experience for your users, be that much richer. But this really unlocks a lot of opportunity for mobile developers on smartphones to create an augmented reality experience up in, spatial, in 3D spatial display. So we're pretty excited about it. That's available now, kind of in experimental mode, but we've got some demos over in our booth if anybody wants to play with it. But I really think that's going to be, an unlocking feature, we have hand tracking plane detection, other features, which are super important, but I kind of feel like this feature is next level. So I think it's really going to unlock a lot of opportunity and really maybe even accelerate the adoption of AR glasses. I mean, when the consumers, are playing their game on the phone and see their friend with glasses and having an even better experience, maybe that starts to accelerate the adoption of glasses, that are connected to smartphones.
So that's fantastic. That's really exciting.
It
So
is.
basically, we're betting on mobile as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Qualcomm, we have customers that are building all-in-ones, and we're building, we have a lot of customers that are also, going down the architecture path of a connected device to an augmented reality glass, and then also VR devices as well. And Spaces will be supported on across the board.
That's amazing. So, Seri, back to you. So can you elaborate on maybe some future T-Mobile and Spaces work? And also, I think, kind of talk about the relationship, because I know we did talk about it at the very beginning, but you mentioned the accelerator work. I know we've done some edge streaming with a Spaces project, talking about it kind of how gaming and T-Mobile is thinking about it, even in terms of education.
Okay, cool. So since Kathy just brought up Fusion, I think it's great to highlight that T-Mobile is working hand in hand with Qualcomm right now to launch a special program this fall out of T-Mobile's 5G hub in the greater Seattle, Washington area in Bellevue, where we're partnering with Qualcomm and Playcraft to bring developers to leverage the Spaces Fusion feature. So we firmly believe in this. We're, of course, big fans of mobile, but we're also fans of enhancing the smartphone experience and any device that will require 5G connectivity. So that answers part of your question, Louisa, right, of what is happening in 2022. Sorry, 2023. It's almost 2024. This is wild. For this year, we are continuing some of our work with former T-Mobile Accelerator participants. An example of that is Victory XR. So last year, Victory XR developed an educational game partnered with a company called Mawari, who was using our edge resources in the greater Seattle area and their streaming technology to stream super high volume assets, high size, like big size assets. And we've continued our work with Victory XR this year, and we've mentioned it before, we're supporting Victory XR in the development of what they call a metaversity, but this time around, we're taking the metaversity concept and bringing it from virtual reality to augmented reality. What is a metaversity? Metaversity is a play of words, a combination of metaverse and university. So we're working with Victory XR to roll out an augmented reality cadaver lab, as well as a tour of the Luxor Temple in augmented reality at St. Ambrose University, in the first of its kind augmented reality educational course using head-worn devices. And we're super excited about this. I think, Louisa, remind me, the other part of your question was, you said education. Of course, gaming, right? We're in a gaming panel. That's very important. We think that one of the use cases that will help give augmented reality glasses that Quest 2 moment will be things like location-based experiences, as well as gaming, and what has been mentioned in the panel already of being able to enjoy an experience with someone while in the same room, and more enhanced experience. And because of that, we're currently working behind the scenes on other experiences that are more anchored to location and involve games. An example of that is the Drone Racing League experience that we rolled out earlier this year in Florida at the Drone Racing League Championship, where we leveraged the Snapdragon Spaces platform to enhance fan experiences. And there are some other things I can't talk about, but just keep your eyes open. There are more things that we're going to be bringing to AR soon this year.
That's fantastic. So in the future, is there going to be another accelerator? What do you think?
Another accelerator. There's always the accelerator. Right now we have the sports invitational at the T-Mobile Accelerator, where we're working with companies to develop future fan experiences. T-Mobile is a big MLB sponsor. We're currently also one of the sponsors for the Formula One race in Las Vegas, which sounds like one big fun party that I'm very excited to hopefully attend, as well as other big partners. And we think that one of the other use cases aside of gaming that will drive adoption in the ecosystem are those location-based experiences, since it's a nice transition from something that is more enterprise to consumers without asking consumers to take that drastic leap of faith outside in the wild where people can see them wearing glasses.
Amazing. So I would like to ask actually all the panelists, what do you think the future is for AR gaming? I mean, and how soon do you see mainstream adoption? You know, bearing in mind elephant in room on Monday. Kathy.
I think just like with every other, digital device, back to the mobile devices early on, gaming is such a huge adoption accelerator. I mean, people want to be entertained with these devices. So I think gaming is going to play a huge role in the adoption of consumer AR glasses, just like it's the reason why Quest 2 had its moment. So I think that we need gaming. Gaming is big.
So for Snapdragon Spaces, basically bring it on games.
Absolutely. Go Ben.
Excellent.
Go Ben.
Sorry.
Ben's building our gaming content catalog.
Ben. Oh. All right. Sorry.
No one knows what's going to happen when the fruit company makes its announcement on Monday, or anyone else that is making announcements. But we're going to be ready. We firmly believe that gaming, like Kathy said, is one of the things that is going to drive adoption of augmented reality glasses. In terms of timing, a lot of factors need to meet for it to happen, including but not an exhaustive list, right? Things like form factor that people just want to wear outside in public and get out of their house with it. Form factor that glasses that don't necessarily that you're comfortable wearing for a long time versus just in one-offs. Yeah, but gaming is definitely one compelling reason, a very compelling reason for people to try to wear these devices and spend money on them.
Alex?
Yeah, so I think AR helps fix or helps alleviate some of the issues in VR related to kind of like social multiplayer experiences, some of the friction of experiencing the same game or experience together. You can theoretically now be in the same room, like see each other, but also see something that is like virtual. And I think that's going to help like some mass adoption, but it's also going to provide a lot of opportunities to create more social experiences, which is going to further fuel kind of adoption. Of course, the points about price and just variability are important. Like Apple's device is allegedly going to cost $3,000, so I know Apple tends to charge a premium price, but also it tends to make really kind of like fashion status icon items that people are willing to pay a premium price for. Now, I'm sure like it's not immediately going to become mainstream, but granted, the Apple Watch also I think probably had a lot of naysayers, including me, and now I'm like wearing it every day because initially I was thought, why would I need another smaller phone in my hand? And now every time I forget my watch, my entire day is ruined because I keep trying to look at my hand, and not only is my time not there, but I'm missing all my calendar invites and messages. So, and of course they're charging all sorts of different prices for different like bands for the watch. So I'm sure they're going to start doing the same thing for the thing that's on your head with all sorts of new attachments, I'm sure, and that's going to help, again, drive adoption because people are going to want to, show off how much money they have to spend on their headset, and experience things together. So, and I think, we're seeing gamification like in all areas of our life, like across like exercise and dieting and So I think it's like the perfect device to like add even more gamification to our life and kind of social media and everything, which I think like is also going to have some pretty devastating impact on our society too, probably. We already have like, what is it, screen time or something on Apple phones. Are they going to call it, well, they can't call it FaceTime because they already have FaceTime. VR time, AR time, I don't know, but I think it's going to be cool having augmentation everywhere, like walking around and having like virtual billboards and ads and then having those gamified, but you're going to be essentially like living in like Vegas, like constant casino and like having constant bombardment of like stimuli everywhere. So on the flip side, we're going to probably need more like meditation apps or something, and probably more like time in real life, like in the nature. So probably more nature simulators, I suppose, because I doubt people are going to want to actually like leave their comforts of their home.
Alex, you're scaring me. So I've got one last question. The M word. Okay, we put it in the title. Patrick, who was here, made me do it. Anyway, yeah, Kathy, the M word.
The M word, oh dear. Metaverse is what she's referring to, if anybody didn't already figure that out. I think my feeling is it's, I like where Alex was going with where we're going with augmented reality in that it's blending, our real, the physical space with digital space, and, we're able to get utility out of that. We're able to get entertainment out of that. To me, that's the metaverse, just that blending of where we are today and then augmenting that with some spatial assets. It's not this scary place that we go to and we're totally immersed. There's a time and a place for that with the games, but to me the metaverse is more just this state of blending the physical and the digital.
Sari?
Similar to Kathy, it's the combination of the real world and every lens that we'll put in front of us. It can make the real world more informative. It can inform on the real world. It can make it a little bit more fun and gamify it. I don't know if I agree or disagree with what Kathy just said on it's going to be a scary place or not. I think the metaverse will be what we as people decide to make it, right? We can make it a scary place. We can make it a very family-friendly place where it's just very informational and not a Vegas casino or Vegas Strip type of thing. But, yeah.
Alex, anything else to add?
I feel like the word metaverse has been pulled in so many directions that it effectively means nothing.
You're so right.
I think it's like Web3 or something, but then Web3 also means too many things now. On one hand, it's being pulled into the commerce direction of like blockchain, which is like cool, but on the other hand, it's pulled into this whole spatialized internet direction, which I don't think they're like mutually exclusive or require each other in some ways. I mean, it's like decentralized internet versus like internet that you can like touch and like walk around in. So I think it just means too many things at this point. It's effectively internet of the future, which can mean everything.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll take his answer.
Yeah, Alex, I don't know why you haven't been on more panels. It's like incredible. Okay, so I would like to throw it over to the audience now, if anyone's got any questions.
Great panel, great seeing everyone here. So Nicole Lazaro from Zio Design. I'm working on a mystery adventure you play in your real room. So I'm super interested in AR and what your experiences have been in terms of like what are the types of genres or types of game mechanics that work particularly well with head-worn AR? You talked about tabletop, obviously, with Puzzle Bobble, but that's my question. What kind of experiences work really well in the AR?
I think Alex.
Yeah, I mean, I think I already mentioned, is it Augmented Renegade? I think it's by Resolution Games. They made this experience where you turn one of your walls into like a portal it's kind of like one of those traditional light gun games where you're kind of in one space shooting enemies, they're coming towards you, but then there's like little like weapon pickups that are dropped around you. So I can see that kind of experience like working well. Anything with really portals, because you can like technically go in and out of AR and VR, and then kind of like play around with the amount of physical space you have. I think that's interesting, and I think like in the future you're gonna have basically kind of like Niantic style Pokemon hunting games where you're just like running around outside, I suppose, like going to like different locations in the world and like looking at things there and meeting other players who are also playing the same game as you.
Fantastic. Any other questions?
Thank you. I'd like to get your thoughts on where you think the far future or the holy grail of location-based experiences would be in AR. Like, what do you think is something that we're not quite there yet, but it's over the horizon, and we're building a path to get there?
Ooh, the holy grail of AR. I don't even want to comment.
Yeah. I'll just quickly say, and then I think the other panelists would probably have more to add, but when we all are walking around with glasses and can participate in some sort of a location experience, I think that's the holy grail. I mean, when glasses are as ubiquitous as mobile phones, I think that's when we get there.
To add to what Kathy said, so yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but some of those experiences that we take for granted because they already come in these little bad boys need to also be easily accessible on your glasses. So think, for example, how you make a call, how you communicate with someone, whether it's a text message or seeing, I'm gonna give a shout out to one of the former accelerator companies, Beam, who in demo day last year ended up showing someone appearing as a hologram on the A3 glasses on the Spaces platform. So you have calling, when you have also things as basic as a map, right? I'm terrible with directions, so I live off Waze and Google Maps. Being able to go around and having those essential tools for your day-to-day experience, I think will be key as well to make this a little bit more ubiquitous, as well as everyone, of course, wearing the glasses.
So in virtual reality, we have this term called presence, which is like this highest form of immersion where you forget that you're playing a game. You feel like you're present in another place. And that leads to some pretty fun moments of like leaning on virtual tables and falling through and hitting your head. Dangerous for head and expensive hardware. But I think in AR, you're going to have kind of the other form of presence of the objects are so present that you don't realize whether they're real or not. And again, maybe lean on some virtual tables because people are pranking you and like leaving augmented tables everywhere. I think I just invented a new type of game, actually. Yeah, and I think, and that's, for me, that's the scary part though, because we'll, just like with my watch, we'll become so dependent on it where you like, now you take off the glasses and like half the world is gone. And you thought that you're just so used to those pieces, like those elements being there. Like sometimes right now, like if you play like a game with like teleport or something, or being able to pick up objects from far away, like you play the game for an hour, then you like try to go to the fridge and you're frustrated that you can't teleport to the fridge or you can't like open it from a distance, right? And I think that's the holy grail of AR. Like all these elements become so ingrained in your head that you think they're just part of reality. Like you're so used to it that they're there.
Perfect. Any other questions? Well,
Since this is a panel, what was the most challenging aspect of leveraging Snapdragon Spaces and bringing that to the IP of Puzzle Bobble?
Yeah, I mean, anytime working with kind of unreleased or like fresh, really fresh out of the oven hardware and software is going to be a little challenging. often you can't just like Google how to fix things. You have to talk to the manufacturers and the developers. So honestly, this was like a relatively seamless project. So I can't say that there was like too many problems outside of waiting for features to like drop. And I think I got to give credit to Qualcomm. They said that things are coming in a month, and they came kind of like in a month, and then we were unblocked. So yeah.
Oh, we're almost done, apparently. Come and ask us afterwards. Anyway, I'd like to thank all the panelists. Amazing, and thank you very much.
Thank you.